Hello, my name is Carson Burke, and today I will be discussing the diplomatic response to the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. Since the end of World War II, we have been in a state of international peace. However, across the globe, there are wars being fought that are hardly ever talked about. In Europe, the collapse of the USSR left a power vacuum in many former Soviet republics. Two former Soviet states, Armenia and Azerbaijan, have been in a constant conflict over the Nagorno-Karabakh territory. Armenian nationalists, with the backing of the Armenian government, have waged a prolonged conflict against the Azerbaijani military. This drawn-out war reached a tipping point when in July of 2020, conflict broke out between both militaries, leading to the death of several military personnel, along with civilians. Since then, there has been a failing effort by the OSCE Minsk Group, the head of the international response to the conflict, to come to a resolution that determines the status of the Nagorno-Karabakh territory. This leads me to believe that the United Nations must come up with a new agreement over the region or hostilities will persist. The OSCE Minsk Group was created in 1992 to negotiate a resolution between Armenia and Azerbaijan. It is headed by France, Russia, and the United States, including 7 other European states. Any agreement by the OSCE must be unanimous. This has and will continue to create a political deadlock. That is not to say that the OSCE has been completely ineffective. OSCE members have sent peacekeepers into the region to ensure that conflict does not break out. And in October of 2020, Russia, with the help of the OSCE, coordinated an agreement to end the active phase of the war. However, this was viewed as a temporary fix, and it doesn't solve the crisis nor prevents war from breaking out in the future. Another reason that the OSCE is unable to reach an agreement is due to Russian interests in Armenia. Russia has a military presence in Armenia, and two international relations experts in Baku, Shafev and Husinov, believe that, like the Ukraine, it affords Russia power over the Armenian government. How does this make the OSCE ineffective? Russia is a major power within the group. If any agreement leans towards the Azerbaijani side, they cannot come to an agreement that has Russia and Armenia's support. Another reason that the status quo is failing is evident by how little interest Azerbaijan and Armenia have in resolution. International policy researcher Tobias Schumacher believes that it allows the ruling parties in both countries to maintain power to make up for the void of a legitimate government. This reaffirms the belief that the United Nations must break the political deadlock. The United Nations is more effective in dealing with the conflict as by resolutions they have passed. UN Resolution 853 assures the sovereignty of Azerbaijan, Armenia, and all other states in the Caucasus, and that their territory must not be infringed upon. This was viewed as a great step. It assures that Armenia will not engage in a territorial dispute other than the Nagorno-Karabakh region. Leaving out Nagorno-Karabakh in these resolutions is where the United Nations failed. We haven't had a concrete agreement to who controls what. That is where the United Nations, now that hostilities could break out at any time, must assert its power. The civilians that are stuck in between this conflict deserve more than the status quo diplomacy being coordinated by Russia and the OSCE. If the conflict resolution affords Russia power over former Soviet state, we can never have peace in the Caucasus. The United Nations, because of the enormous impact and power they have over international policy, could convene and settle this conflict once and for all. If there was any acts of aggression by Armenia or Azerbaijan, the threat of UN sanctions would make the governments of both countries reconsider any conflict. In conclusion, only the United Nations, as evident by the failures of the OSCE Minsk Group, can come to pass a concrete peace agreement. The United Nations, with input from all parties, must come to pass a resolution finally declaring the status. If status of Nagorno-Karabakh is left undetermined, the conflict will continue.